Viewers, a streaming series on Netflix retelling the nightmare that was the IC-814 hijacking of 1999 has nosedived into controversy. The series director Anubhav Sinha stands accused of, quote, normalizing a crime against the nation masterminded and facilitated by Pakistan's ISI, unquote. The INB ministry has summoned Netflix's content chief and is expected to pose some troubling questions to the OTT platform. Viewers, the statement of the INB ministry is on your screens. But according to self-styled patriots who, viewers, have an eye out for this sort of seditious monkey business, this seditious sleight of hand on celluloid, the director has used Hindu aliases for the Islamist terrorists who were funded by Pakistan's deep state. So the gun-toting bigot who should be called Akhtar is called Bhola, and the jihadi Athar is called Shankar. In short, every obfuscation is used to ensure that the hijackers aren't identified with their religion. For good measure, we are told the director has also portrayed these bloodthirsty xenophobic thugs as being touchingly empathetic, playing Antakshari with their hostages and so on. All this according to BJP MP Kangana Ranaut and BJP national spokesperson Amit Malviya is a, quote, deliberate attempt, unquote, to make a whole generation of impressionable young minds think it was, quote, Hindus who hijacked the IC-814, unquote. Yes, friends, these are the statements that have been released by Amit Malviya and others in the BJP. The concern for Gen Z is, of course, touching. The generation is quite indiscriminating, used as it is to forage for knowledge in any rubbish tip that it can find within easy reach, including WhatsApp University. But viewers, on a serious note, setting aside the impact on Gen Z and their nubile minds, this kind of gratuitous disinformation, Malviya says, serves as the court left's agenda to whitewash the crimes of Pakistani terrorists, all Muslims, unquote. And here Malviya may have a point. The liberal ecosystem in India has long romanced the idea of Indians and Pakistanis living together in a subcontinental Shangri-La of shared culture and history. It's, quote, Aman ki Asha, unquote, with Pakistan, while laudable, imprisons it in a sentimentalism that leaves no room for critical thinking and nuanced analysis. Consider the 2019 Pulwama attack, where 40 Indian soldiers were killed by a Pakistan-backed terror group. The liberal ecosystem's immediate response was to caution against, quote, warmongering, unquote, and advocate for, quote, restraint, unquote. Can you believe it, viewers? That is what they first said. Left to our ecosystem, we would have turned the other cheek, like by all accounts we did after the 26/11 Mumbai attack. The government of the day, the UPA, led by the Congress, according to a top military commander, ignored advice from military strategists to conduct punitive counter-strikes. There are other examples when misty-eyed nostalgia for the days of, quote, Hindu-Muslim brotherhood, unquote, has led the ecosystem to go soft on Pakistan. Let me give you some of the hard facts, viewers. I never make open-ended statements without the ballast of the hard fact. So here it is, viewers. This is how sentimental, so soft the ecosystem, blinded by its Aman ki Asha fetish, has gone on Pakistan. Films like Veer Zara, Bajrangi Bhaijaan were perceived as painting Pakistan in a soft light, in an understanding light, not as a sworn enemy of our country. A top Bollywood actor proclaimed that, quote, Pakistan is not an enemy state, unquote. Ex-PM Manmohan Singh in 2009 said, quote, Pakistan is not the enemy, unquote. Navjot Singh Sidhu, a Congress stalwart who was at the apex of his popularity within the Congress, hugged ex-Pak Army Chief Qamar Javed Bajwa, can you believe it, viewers, on that side of the border. Opposition repeats invocations to dealing terror from talks with Pakistan. You only have to look at the manifesto as we speak of the manifesto of a number of regional parties in Kashmir, viewers. They are all advocating a return to the table. Hizbul commander Burhan Wani normalized as school headmaster's son. This has also happened, viewers. Kashmiris called, quote, migrants, unquote, not survivors of Pak-backed xenophobia. 2611 deemed, quote, RSS ki shajish, unquote, by certain opposition politicians. All happened on Indian soil. Pictures of Muslims shielding Hindu homes and temples in Bangladesh to whitewash bigotry there have also been plastered. Some viewers by leading fact checkers. Pak-backed terrorists branded, quote, true representatives of Kashmiri people, unquote. Can you believe it, viewers? One was even invited to hold talks by then UPA Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. Pakistani stars given meaty off and on-screen roles in Bollywood, enriched viewers, showered with viewership and love. Indian army painted as, quote, oppressor, unquote, in Kashmir to legitimize anti-India protests. Yes, people have said if the army wasn't so rough on the unsuspecting youth of Kashmir, we wouldn't have stone pelters. Viewers, now that we don't have stone pelters, no one is asking, how is it that our braves are still being targeted? How is it that when the army now is the picture of understanding, our army is still being targeted? These are questions, viewers, that no one will answer. There was a time when the ecosystem hobnobbed with ISI stooge Ghulam Fai to further peace in Jammu and Kashmir. Biryani diplomacy with Pakistan by opposition netas in the guise of promoting people-to-people ties. Pak-sponsored stone pelters released from jail as part of, quote, confidence-building measures, unquote. ISIS flag wavers routinely described as, quote, misguided youth, unquote, in the Kashmir Valley. Viewers, Hindu names for IC-814 Islamist hijackers is not some nostalgic, sudden amnesia. It is, as some people are saying, part of a deliberate attempt, an orchestration, an obsession with Aman ki Asha. And viewers, it is bizarre that IC-814 should be debuted on our screens, whitewashing the role of terrorists, but Kangana Ranawat's movie Emergency should be actually nixed by the censor board. Breaking news coming in, let's put it out. There it is on your screens, viewers. Kangana Ranawat's movie Emergency at this moment in time doesn't look as if it has got the go-ahead. Viewers, on the IC-814, we are also being told now that, and that's the big breaking news, it's a critical issue. We are being told cultural dignity is important, and so forth. Top government sources on IC-814. Let me go across to Payal Mehta. Payal, put this into perspective for us. What's happening?
Well, the government, Rahul, does understand that creative liberties can be taken by, filmmakers, etc. But you cannot be creating a situation where you're trying to portray your own nation as a weak nation as well. So obviously, in a way, whitewashing the roles of the terrorists involved, giving them different names and what actually, was given to them originally, also trying to, portray the terrorists as somebody who was very kind, so, somebody who was very, very sympathetic towards some passengers. That's completely incorrect in terms of the picture. India is a country of many diverse cultures and, many beliefs and faiths. But, of course, national interest comes at the top. So that's the reason the government of the day feels that Netflix has to answer multiple questions as to why they allow this to go through. Did they not do any check? And if they... the only technicality that they can actually get away from is that they're saying that this is inspired by true incidents. But, if you watch the series throughout the entire episode, you could see that multiple file shots, including original shots of Atal Bihari Vajpayee speaking to the media, has also been shown. So multiple instances have been taken from a real incident as well. So obviously, creative liberties put aside, that is something that the government says that it's their responsibility to ensure. But national interest cannot be compromised, and the sentiments of the people can't really be compromised.
So now what happens next, Payal? Is this series going to be pulled off Netflix? Or I know that there's going to be a summons that has been issued, of course, to the content head of Netflix, and there's going to be obviously a meeting. But what happens next?
Well, of course, the government is going to take into account in terms of what Netflix is going to do about it, because remember, there are IT rules which are very much in place in terms of rules which apply to everybody, creative liberty kept aside. You have to go by the law of the land. The law of the land is supreme, is what we were given to understand. Tomorrow, the officials of the Information and Broadcasting Ministry will be meeting the Netflix chiefs. We'll have to just wait and see what route they really take. Is there an opportunity to, in fact, correct that content?
Right.
Is there an opportunity to put that out? Or if it's actually pulling somebody's content out, one has to understand that Netflix is headquartered outside India as well. So will that really work? Will that kind of censorship really work? Because as of now, most of the content is uncensored as far as the OTT platforms are really concerned. And that's the reason now there's been a long-growing voice from within the BJP. I remember very clearly BJP's former MP Manoj Kotak had taken this to a great length with the then INB Minister Prakash Javadekar, asking for some sort of censorship even on OTT platforms.
Well, that's interesting, Payal. Thank you very much. Of course, viewers, all of this, look, ordinarily, I would never step in and say that any series should be banned or taken off air. That's not something that personally one would advocate for. But it does look that in the guise of creativity, as I said, viewers, this is not really a debate about this film in particular. This is a larger debate about the ecosystem and its misty-eyed, romanticized notions of Pakistan. Is that a symptom of that larger disease? This movie, is that a symptom of that larger disease? That's the fundamental question. I want to open this up, viewers. As I say, once again, this is not particularly about IC-814, the Netflix series. And I have to bring in Dr. Ranganathan first. Dr. Ranganathan, look, ordinarily, this whole business of saying Gen Z will become sort of, disinformed about what exactly happened, I think that's all, safely to be put aside, even though Gen Z, as you know, doesn't really read much. And the only thing they're reading and attending is WhatsApp University. But my sort of dated views on Gen Z aside, I just want to ask you, this is at one with this whole ecosystem romanticized notion of where we put Pakistan in our imagination, this whole business of Ganga, Jamna, Tehzeeb, and how the twains will meet, and how Imran Khan and, Kapil Dev will bowl together in a World Cup at some point in time. Of course, they can't anymore. But, all of that was said, if you remember. How we will marry each other and live forever in this beautiful Shangri-La, subcontinental Shangri-La.
Good evening, Rahul. You've actually hit the nub, because it's not about one film or its content or who's made it, what was the ideology of that person who made it. It is a much larger question, and I'm so glad we're discussing that, because it almost goes to a level that is, I would say, quasi-philosophical. Because the fact is, the hypocrisy and double standards when it comes to talking about, mocking, being critical of Hinduism and Hindus is mind-boggling. In fact, let me be blunt, it is, I'm afraid, institutional. When it comes to Islam, it's another story. So it's not just Pakistan, it's actually Islam. Remember how Prime Minister Manmohan Singh on the floor of our parliament demanded an apology from Denmark for the Prophet cartoons. उनसे हमारा क्या लेना देना था? लेकिन हमारे पार्लियामेंट में कह रहे हैं कि नहीं भाई, Miss Sonia Gandhi publicly apologized to a Shahi Imam of Jama Masjid for that. But when it comes to Hinduism, it's a free for all. I guess Hindus are tired of selective targeting and hypocrisy. Secularism, Rahul, is not a one-way street. A bigot stand-up who jokes on Godhra train burning soils his pajamas when it comes to making fun of his own religion. If it isn't the popular discourse, the stand-up comics, the tweets mocking Hinduism, the Tanishq ad recently, or the Red Label ad where they projected a Hindu as bigoted and non-accepting of his Muslim neighbor, it's done by parties like the DMK or the TMC or the Congress. We've seen all that. Sanatan Dharma eradication and everything. Like a Mahila Congress leader making a Gaumutra jibe, same as Pulwama bomber. A Goa Congress leader terming Hindu god Parashurama as a terrorist and a rapist. Congress mouthpiece, National Herald, routinely publishing Hindu-phobic articles, including one where it said Hindu epics were replete with misogyny and Me Too instances. Congress celebrating Tipu Jayanti, despite knowing he demolished hundreds of temples and converted and butchered lakhs of Hindus. Who can forget saffron terror was coined by Congress, and communal violence will, where only the majority, i.e. Hindus, would be guilty in a communal riot. How many instances are there where the Congress has abused Islam? In fact, it demanded hanging of Kamlesh Tiwari on the floor of UP Assembly. We've seen what happened with Nupur. Rahul, if we are talking of mainstreaming hate, why are we as a nation so scared of even making public the preachings that render Abrahamic religions exclusivist and supremacist? You talk of hate and conveniently forget the hate religion preach. Let me not quote the verses, but rather a man out here, quote, the Hindus are right when they say that it is not possible to establish social contact between Hindus and Muslims because such contact can only mean contact between women from one side and men from the other, unquote. Who said this? No, not Himanta Biswa Sarma, not Yogi Adityanath, but Dr. Ambedkar. Was he a Sanghi? Look, finally, as a free speech absolutist, I am not for banning any ad, any film, OTT or any stand-up comic or film that mocks Hinduism or Hindu gods, because there are so many, especially lately. It'd be a good idea for the makers to append their creative work with a small print that says, quote, yes, we are mocking Hindu beliefs and Hindu gods because we can. And Hindus have always accepted this. We dare not mock Islam or its practices or its prophet or God, because if we do, we'll be beheaded or killed like Charlie Hebdo journalists, unquote. Just this simple small print will assuage the Hindus and make the Muslims realize that we all live in a country that cherishes the freedom to criticize religion, and that the punishment for apostasy or being a kafir is not death. But I suppose for some, Osama bin Laden was actually a chemical engineer and his real name was Omkara Bhai Lakhani, just like Burhan Wani was the son of a school teacher.
Well, this context has been set now. Sanju Verma and Tehseen Poonawala, let me bring you in. Sanju Verma, look, at the end of the day, as I'm saying, this is not really about this Netflix series. This is about a pathology. And I think the symptoms of that pathology have been put forth by Dr. Ranganathan also. I have given you concrete examples of how Pakistan has been given this massive play as this benign neighbor of ours. I mean, we even had in one time, the great Kabuliwala who would come, and the great Pathans, and all valorized in our movies, etc., forgetting that some of them jumped into POK, if you remember, Sanju Verma. I mean,
yes.
or masqueraded as, God alone knows what in Kargil. So, look, I mean, at the end of the day, we have a situation where someone is trying to create an allowance for Pakistan. And I could ask you right now, why have we woken up to it so late in the day?
Rahul, you asked me a couple of questions.
Yeah.
I will come straight to the point. First and foremost, on a lighter note, you've shown your classic sarcasm at Gen Z. But let me tell you, a lot of Gen Z people watch your show, so they are not as dim-witted as one might wonder. But
I'm not saying they're dim-witted. I'm just saying they're unsuspecting, बिचारे.
Yes. But coming
हमने
to the
उनको
more,
बर्बाद कर दिया WhatsApp बनू के, उनको बोला कि WhatsApp पे आ जाओ, Facebook पे आ जाओ, जहाँ पर भी फेक न्यूज चलती है वहाँ पर ही. और Koi to zabardast. We also asked them to watch some very important influencers on YouTube.
Exactly.
Who don't even sit in India, but they broadcast anyhow. Yes,
right.
Go ahead.
नहीं, राहुल शिवशंकर का शो तो जेन जी भी देखती है, जेन एक्स भी देखता है, मिलेनियल्स भी देखते हैं. But coming to the more important point, you know, I think Mr. Ranganathan highlighted some very interesting aspects of, the hypocrisy by Hindu-phobic bigots who then actually have the audacity to call Hindus as being Islamophobic. I'll come to that later. But first and foremost, let me say I am not a free speech absolutist. I believe that there have to be restrictions on free speech, something which is also enshrined in our constitution, which says that freedom never exists in a vacuum. My freedom stops where your freedom starts. Having said that, let's first address the elephant in the room. The crux of the issue today is about the IC-814 hijacking, which happened in 1999. What I am appalled by is the fact that one of the casting directors, Mukesh Chhabra, he's now jumped onto the bandwagon and is supporting Anubhav Sinha, saying, "Arey, we just use some nicknames. You know, Bhola and Shankar were actually code names. This does not take away from what actually happened on that fateful day of 14th December 1999. My simple question is this: you call them Bollywoodias or you call them Hindi film cinema, preachers, what have you. First and foremost, when the Kashmir files became a super duper hit, this entire brigade, which is today standing in solidarity with the likes of Anubhav Sinha, with the likes of Mukesh Chhabra, they said, Vivek Agnihotri has made a movie which is removed from reality. He is hallucinating. To them, I will simply ask this, and I've done a zillion debates, Rahul, when you were on, another channel on this issue. The fact that an engineer, BK Ganju, was shot right through the tin of rice where he was hiding, and his wife was made to eat rice-soaked blood. Is that a lie? No. The fact that Girija Tikku was raped and then her body torn apart into two by an electrical saw. Is that a lie? No. The fact that Justice BK Ganju was assassinated simply because he called out the bluff of terror in the valley. Is that a lie? No. Tikalal Taplu was murdered in cold blood. Is that a lie? No. Now the very lot which says that Kashmir files to Vivek Agnihotri ki figment of imagination hai, wild imagination at that. Today they are saying, so what's the big deal if Mushtaq Zardar, if Omar Ahmed Sheikh, if Masood Azhar, Shoaib Shahid and the other terrorists of Harkatul Mujahideen have been called Bhola and Shankar. इतना सारा रगड़ा क्यों हो रहा है, इतना बखेड़ा क्यों हो रहा है? तो I just want to say this, यदि बखेड़ा नहीं करना था तो मुश्ताक जरगार को मुश्ताक जरगार बुलाते, ओमर अहमद शेख को ओमर अहमद शेख बुलाते, मसूद अजहर को मसूद अजहर बुलाते, शाहिब और शोएब को उनके नामों से बुलाते, ना कि nicknames of Bhola and Shankar. But that's not the point. Okay. Taking off from what Mr. Ranganathan said, I just want to say this to you. And I think here Amit Malviya's tweet is very pertinent. This is a tweet he put out on the 3rd of May 2023. This was during the controversy surrounding the Kerala story. If you remember, Kerala story was also mired in controversy where Ada Sharma played the character of Shalini Unnikrishnan.
Yes.
And they said love jihad as a concept to hai hi nahi. The entire Arfas and Swara Bhaskars of the world.
Anyhow, let's
and
not.
The Saimas of the world.
That's a different story.
Okay. Let me just say this to you. I think let me read out in 20 seconds. And this will put the whole thing in perspective.
Okay.
I'm reading out from the statement of V.S. Achyutanandan when he was the Kerala CM between 2006 and 2011, which Amit Malviya has actually tweeted about.
Okay.
He says that it is on record that more than 7,000 conversions to Islam have taken place, and love jihad is a cruel reality in Kashmir. And the Kerala story was simply saying that, there are 3 women, they cross over from Afghanistan and become ardent followers of the Islamic State. Kya galat bola?
Okay, so let me open this up. Let's give Tehseen Poonawalla, who's heard 2 people speak at length, a good long opportunity to put his point across. And the question is, why are why is the left-backed ecosystem, or some people say the Congress-backed ecosystem, so apologetic about Pakistan's malevolence, Tehseen Poonawalla, that we've gone to this extent in this movie not to even sort of identify the terrorists with a religion, identify the fact that they were intrinsically Pak-sponsored and so on and so forth, according to what I am reading, sir.
Good evening, Rahul. Thank you for having me on the show, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to have a longish say to the two very erudite speakers. One, you've addressed Gen Z, but you haven't addressed Gen Alpha or Gen Alpha after that. So they are the ones from 2010, and they also watch it, many of them, and they also are addicted to social media. So let's get all the generations in. But more importantly, look, one, like Anand, I do believe that there must be no censorship, neither in OTT, neither in art, neither in news channels. It is unacceptable. It cannot happen. If you don't like a piece of art, get out of the gallery. You don't like an OTT show, shut it off or unsubscribe. You don't like a news channel, shut the channel. You don't like a painting, leave the gallery. You don't like a book, shut the book. You cannot have censorship. The minute you have censorship, the minute you have government, any government interfering, that is you're spiraling down dictatorship. I also agree with Anand, and I've often said this on your show, that in India we have freedom of speech, but we dare not mock any other religion. And I think that has a chilling effect. We must be able to ask questions about any and every religion. That is the only way society progresses. No if, no but. Every religion. I myself have a lot of threats, particularly for standing up for Nupur. And that's the way it is. But you got to stand up for the truth. The third part to it is, I haven't seen the series. Mukesh is like a brother to me. I love Mukesh. I haven't seen the series, but I do know that the names that have been given, Bola and the other names, were names referred to by the then Honorable Home Minister of India on the floor of Parliament. These were code names used. Should the Muslim names have been used and that they were members of the terrorist organization that they were? Yes, they should have been. But these names are not fiction. These were names as accepted by the then Home Minister of India on the floor of Parliament. Fourth, never forget that IC-814 was India's weakest moment under one of India's weakest prime ministers, Prime Minister Whitewashing. We allowed the plane to take off from Amritsar. We allowed it to land in Kandahar, which was ISI controlled. We then negotiated, and Ajit Dovalji personally, after an all-party meeting, escorted 3 terrorists, released 3 terrorists who then formed a JEM, who then attacked our parliament. Once again, we had a massive build-up. Nothing happened after the massive 13 December build-up, and we had the most number of casualties in the Indian army after the 13 December parliament attack without a single bullet being fired. That is India's weakest prime minister letting India down. And like Kargil,
let him finish. Let him finish. He never interrupted. You can all have your say. No problem. No one's running away from this debate. No one's taking off in IC-814. Land ho gaya ji. Yes. Carry on.
But the most important thing. Look, any series, and I'm not a fan of either Kerala Stories, I haven't seen it, Kashmir Files, I haven't seen it, or Kangana's movie, which is coming out. I don't know. I believe this government is trying to ban it, or there's some sort of breaking news, as you said, that they want to censor it. I don't think that should happen. If you don't like Kerala Files, make another movie to counter what you may believe is a propaganda. You don't like Kashmir Files, I don't believe it was a propaganda, make another movie to counter it. You don't like IC-814, make another movie to counter it. You cannot ban movies. The minute we allow any arbitrary body or the government to come down and ban movies or OTT shows, we are in serious trouble. I don't understand why the INB ministry needs to summon people from Netflix. It is not their business. Tomorrow there'll be some.
Okay, let's get a reaction.
That is wrong. It is plain wrong. Okay. What you should do is the ecosystem that does not like it, make another show on IC-814, show how great Vajpayee ji and Advani ji was, and please show that how the plane never took off from Amritsar and we stormed it in Amritsar. Go ahead and make a movie. Who's stopping you? But don't ban movies.
Sanju Verma.
I'm against that.
Sanju Verma, and then Dr. Ranganathan to wrap it up. Yes.
Let's be very clear. I don't know whether to say the pot calling the kettle black or the kettle calling the pot black when I hear Tehseen Poonawalla waxing eloquent about free speech. I hope you've not forgotten. There's a famous book by Javier Moro called The Red Sari, which was banned by Congress. There's a famous movie called Kissa Kursi Ka, which was banned by the Congress. And let me remind, Majroo Sultanpuri was kept in jail for 6 months simply because he wrote 2 couplets against Pandit Nehru. So यहाँ बैठकर free speech पर BJP को भाषण मत दो. Point number 1. Very quickly, point number 2. Atal Bihari Vajpayee did not succumb to any political or moral pressure and continued and went ahead with the Pokhran nuclear test. Any other government would have buckled under pressure. इसलिए वाजपेयी जी को तहसीन पूनावाला के सर्टिफिकेट की जरूरत नहीं है. And my last point is this: If there is one government which was absolutely a coward, and the ex-IAF chief has said in as many words, after the horrifying 26/11/2008 Mumbai terror attack, the Indian Air Force was well equipped to avenge. But Sonia Gandhi और मनमोहन सिंह ने कहा, लश्कर-ए-तौबा के खिलाफ हम कोई एयर अटैक नहीं करेंगे. Pakistan is a good neighbor. So don't preach here.
Okay, quick one from Tehseen Poonawala and then Dr. Ranganathan coming in. Yes.
I completely accept what Sanju said. The Congress is wrong. Censorship is wrong. But just because the Congress censored something does not make it right to do it now.
It's not censored as of now. The show is available on Netflix.
But the INB ministry has no right to summon people. They need to stay out of it.
Ministry has every right to summon
They have a right. They have a right. They have a right. Whether you agree with it or not is a different matter. One second. Yes, Dr. Ranganathan, you wanted to come in when Tehseen was saying something. I saw you raise your arm. Yes.
Tehseen is a very good friend of both mine and Sanju's, but I take grave exception to what he said about Bharat Ratna Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, that he was the weakest PM. I am sorry. He was the PM who conducted the nuclear test despite knowing that our country would be sanctioned by all the superpowers. He was the man who won us the Kargil war. Was he weaker than the Prime Minister who refused to bomb the terror targets in Pakistan despite the air chief telling him that please do so in the wake of 26/11? Was he weaker than the Prime Minister who inserted in Sharm el-Sheikh agreement that India will not interfere into the affairs of Pakistan, especially Baluchistan? Tehseen, please get your facts right. And number two, and this is important, the Congress, honestly, they've got some gal condemning censorship. They have censored and banned hundreds of films and books. I recently, Rahul, on your show, narrated some of those bans, but because they retort very quickly that, oh, those are historical bans, Kissa, Kursi Ka, emergency. So let me today take a minute and only list the bans and censorships done by the Congress in the last 15 years. When it was in power at the center and in the states, Congress demanded cuts of all intimate scenes between Nehru and Edwina played by Hugh Grant and Kate Blanchett in the film Indian Summer. The film got shelved. Congress banned the film No Fire Zone. It filed a police complaint against Netflix for referring to Rajiv Gandhi as FATTU. Film GANDU was banned. Inshallah football was banned. Banned Amol Palekar's Thang. Banned Sakharam Bhinder. Demanded a ban on Padmavati. Denied certificate to Papilo Buddha. Banned Nakula insurance for Muslims. Demanded a ban on Dam Maro Dam. Nishabd. Kya super cool hai hum. Banned 6 Sacred Wound of Christ. Da Vinci Code was banned. Demanded cuts in Rajniti. Arakshan was banned. Amu was banned. Tango Charlie was banned. Demanded a ban on Namo Sume Gamo Arjun Reddy. Demanded a ban on the song Bharat Mata from Shanghai. Demanded a ban on Rang De Basanti. Passed only after minister said yes. Demanded a ban on film Hndu Sarkar. Banned Hud Anahud. Demanded a ban on Hey Ram Nathu Ram. Qaum De Heere 1984 genocide was banned. Sada Haq was banned. Hawaii on 1984 genocide was banned. All this in the last 15 years.
Was any film even released, Dr. Ranganathan, under the UPA? well, viewers, look. Okay, Tehseen, yeah, okay, very quickly. Come on.
A lot of these movies Dr. Ranganathan has named have actually been released and I've seen it. Somebody demanding a ban is completely different from actually being banned, number one.
No, hang on.
Even one second. Even the adjectives used for Rajiv Gandhi ji, yes, somebody had filed a complaint, but Rahul Gandhi is on record saying no, there will be no ban. We move away from it and we will not allow.
Okay, I want to read this book called The Satanic Verses.
You should.
Yes. So when are you telling me that if and when Rahul Gandhi comes to power, notionally he's already in power, he believes he's already in power.
The current Prime Minister to open it.
No, I'm only asking. Can I ask you, sir? No, Tehseen, since it's a legacy issue,
I'm asking.
Will Rahul Gandhi allow us to buy?
One second, leave Rahul Gandhi.
Okay, now you suddenly want to leave Rahul Gandhi. You invoked him, my dear.
Can you open the ban?
You brought him into
my God, Tehseen, stop
it. Prime Minister, I will ask him questions. Right now, the man is asking questions.
Okay. Well, viewers, look. The fact of the matter is that if you're going to constantly look at things through this sort of Aman ki Asha lens, then you're going to constantly, unfortunately for all of us viewers and for Gen G or Z or Z on Alpha, whatever it is, you will not put out history as it should be put out, especially when it comes to the role of Pakistan Islamists in our country and on our soil. That is the takeaway, viewers.